Developed in collaboration with the University of Colorado School of Medicine, the Cadaver Dissection Guide is a complete manual for a gross dissection course. The Cadaver Dissection Guide was developed as an add-on lesson pack for Touch of Life Technologies VH Dissector. To access the Cadaver Dissection Guide, select the Cadaver Dissection Guide listing from the lesson index. The Cadaver Dissection Guide is organized into 6 chapters, an introduction and 1 chapter for each region of the body. To access the content, simply click on the links in the index. The first section of each chapter, the Bones section, illustrates the bony anatomy of each region. Simply follow through the text and click on the red links to illustrate the anatomy in the VH Dissector. A separate page is included for each major bone and group of bones in the body. Clicking on the red link shows the anatomy of the bone and also the muscular anatomy attaching to that bone. Unlike traditional paper anatomy textbooks, the Cadaver Dissection Guide retains the interactivity of the VH Dissector. This allows each illustration to be manipulated fully by the student. Students can zoom in on the dissection, rotate the dissection in 360 degrees, and even add and remove structures to the dissection. Each illustration is interactive in both the dissection view, the three-dimensional view, and the cross-sectional view. As shown here, selecting structures in the cross-sectional view adds those structures to the dissection view as well. Clicking on the small images of the bones in the Cadaver Dissection Guide launches an illustration showing the bony landmarks of each bone. Simply mouse over the name of the bony landmark to have it highlighted on the bone. Each bone illustration also includes multiple angles of each bone. Illustrations of each major bone, as well as muscle and ligament attachments, create a virtual bone room that students can take with them and use to study from home. The next section of the Cadaver Dissection Guide is the Surface Anatomy section. Here, the cutaneous innervation is illustrated. Simply mouse over the name of the dermatome to see its distribution. The major cutaneous nerves are also illustrated. Simply mouse over their names to see their distribution. Illustrations are shown of both the anterior and posterior of each limb. The Surface Landmark section shows the major palpatable surface landmarks of the body, as well as the anatomical structures underlying those landmarks. Using the skin opacity function in the VH Dissector allows you to quickly illustrate both the surface anatomy and the underlying structural anatomy of each landmark. The next section, the Movement section, illustrates out the movements of each limb. For limbs with complicated movements such as the thumb, multiple images are included. The bulk of the information in the Cadaver Dissection Guide is contained in the dissection portion. Each region is broken down into multiple dissections, and each dissection into multiple steps. Each dissection begins with an overview explaining the dissection, followed by a concept section explaining and illustrating the anatomical concepts encountered during the dissection. This section is followed by a structures section identifying the structures encountered during the dissection. These introduction sections are followed by the actual step-by-step instructions for the cadaver dissection. Each step is thoroughly illustrated within the VH Dissector. As well, the majority of steps are also illustrated with prosected cadaver photos. Some steps include multiple prosected cadaver photos. As with the pictures of the bones, clicking on the prosected cadaver pictures enlarges the images. The images can be further zoomed in and navigated. You can also choose to hide the labels on the images, making them available for students to use for peer quizzing or also for simulated practical exams. The radiology section presents the anatomy of the body in multiple imaging modalities. Each radiograph has been lined up with the corresponding anatomy in the VH Dissector. Here, a radiograph of the shoulder is lined up with the shoulder of the visible human. Mousing over the names on the radiograph illustrates the radiographic anatomy. This way, students can quickly learn to identify known anatomical structures in a radiograph. In addition to plain films, the trunk and head and neck sections contain multiple CT images of the body. Here, one can see CT images of the thorax, abdomen, and pelvis lined up with cross-sections from the VH dissector. As well, there are multiple CT stacks in the Cadaver Dissection Guide. Here we see a CT stack of the sigmoid colon illustrated using the VH dissector. Through harnessing the interactivity and versatility of the VH dissector, the Cadaver Dissection Guide extends the cadaver experience beyond the gross dissection lab, thus creating the ultimate resource for anatomy courses at the health professional level. For more information about the Cadaver Dissection Guide and the VH dissector, please visit www.toltec.net.